Hello, Internet.
Internet, yeah. I'm Anna Mariano, back here again with the live streams. I'm talking today about Quidditch with I'm going to point the wrong way. I pointed the right way with my friend Alejo. Alejo, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alejo Enriquez, although most people call me Alejo. It's usually easier. And I play Quidditch. I'm a coach, a team manager, a referee, and in general, just enjoy the sport of Quidditch. And I'm here to talk about how it's a real sport that we actually play.
Yes, so this is Quidditch 101, geared towards mostly my, book friends, more than my Quidditch friends, although hey, Quidditch friends, if you're out there. For those of you who don't know, I also write books. For my book friends who don't know, I also play Quidditch. We're just getting it all together with this book. So before we get started, and as we let people kind of find the live stream, find the links and everything, we're going to play a little trailer for my book, This Is How We Fly, which also showcases some Quidditch. No, it doesn't showcase some Quidditch. It kind of pretends to showcase some Quidditch. We're going to watch that, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to explain how Quidditch works. Woohoo! All right, yep. Shameless promotion over. No, that was a really great video made by Ariel Heibloom, our tech guy, who's also running this live stream. Thanks very much to him. So that is the book. That's a little intro to the book. So Alejo, we're going to be talking about, and you run How to Play Quidditch. So we're going to talk about how to play Quidditch.
Yep, that's what I do, among other things. I do that totally in my spare time. My day job is a college professor. Yeah. But I play Quidditch for fun. I coach it, and I run the website HowToPlayQuidditch.org, which I try and just put information out there for people to see how the sport actually works. And because you can't play different sports have different numbers of people. You can play golf by yourself. You can play tennis with 2 people. You can play 3-on-3 basketball, but you really need, at least 6 people to even do the minimum of Quidditch. And really, a full team is like 10, 15, 20 people, right? Yeah. And so the more people who know how to play, the more Quidditch we all get to play. So
yeah, and the more people who know how to play, the bigger our sport grows. So that's always
absolutely good. Yep.
So let's start with, it is Quidditch 101. Let's start with the basics. If someone walks up to you, let's say you're in the park playing Quidditch, and somebody walks up and says, "What is this?" Where do you start? What do you tell them?
Well, the shortcut is to say, "Well, are you familiar with Harry Potter?" Because the sport is based on the sport from Harry Potter. Now, you don't need to know anything about Harry Potter in order to play the sport. You absolutely, we have lots of people who play Quidditch who are not interested in Harry Potter, who don't care for it, never seen the books or movies.
More every day, as J.K. Rowling to alienate the fans.
But if someone is familiar with Harry Potter, you say, well, it's the same except without the magic. And what I've learned is that people engage with that in 2 different ways. Some people are like, okay, yeah, I get it, right? It's just running around, but it follows the rules from the book. And other people are like, that makes no sense. And I've realized why this is. Hockey, you can play it on grass, right? Or on a parking lot, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But to people who hockey is a set of rules about taking sticks and knocking a puck and trying to put it into a goal, you can play it on grass, on concrete or whatever. But to people who look at hockey and say they're playing it on ice, the ice is an integral part of it, they would then say you can't play Quidditch without the magic, because it's Quidditch in the books and the movies is a magical sport. And to someone watching that, the whole experience is just, oh, they're flying. That's the sport. But that's not the sport. The sport is the chasers trying to rules, protecting the chasers, the seeker trying to catch the snitch. Those positions are the same. And so if someone is familiar with Harry Potter and you say, okay, so it works the same way, as that, you can try and use that to engage. If people haven't seen the book or the movies, or they're not interested, or they don't remember, which happens all the time, I then say, okay, it's like basketball, 4-on-4 basketball. You got a ball you're trying to score on the hoops, and since instead of the one tall hoop, there's 3 hoops different sizes, so very more inclusive in terms of size. And then there's 2 people on each team who can't score. Then this is the part that trips a lot of people up. This is the part that's hard for people. There's different balls in the field, and which position you're playing dictates which ball you can pick up and play.
That one is super hard when we teach Quidditch.
That's what gets
little kids have trouble.
Yep, right. When you play under a certain age, you just tell them you can only hold 1 ball at a time. You can hold any ball you want, and it's just chaos. It's just for fun, right? There's no strategy at that point. So, but when adults play it and you're limited to 1 ball, either the quaffle or the bludger. With the bludgers, there's 3 of them. Then that's the thing that's what takes a leap. That's what takes you a little bit of a reach to be like, wait a second, because you're used to just picking up the ball in front of you and going. But if you're a chaser or a keeper, you can only pick up and score with the quaffle. It's like a basketball. You use a slightly deflated volleyball, but it's just like basketball or rugby. Pass to your teammates, run through your opponents, dunk, shoot, front or back.
You can see over here, the chasers wear white headbands, keepers wear green headbands.
Right.
I'm currently wearing a seeker headband, but it's not because I'm a seeker. But the colors actually matter with that. Everyone wears headbands on the field, and that actually tells what position you're playing.
Right. And so so when people are struggling to understand what the game, and I'll try and point out game film or point out that the game as it's going on, I say, look, the person holding the quaffle is looking for his teammates to pass to. They can pass to each other. You can run with it. And you're trying to get around the opposing chasers. But the thing that really makes Quidditch so unique is that there's 2 people on each team who are not allowed, they even physically with their body, they can't even stop a shot or a block or tackle the chasers because they're in a different position. They're playing different balls. And those are the beaters. So there's 2 beaters in each team, and they try and pick up the dodgeballs, which are the bludgers, and they try and peg opponents with them. And if you get pegged by a dodgeball, you have to take out the broom from between your legs and go tag in your own hoops, and that's how you show you're out, you're knocked out. And then once you touch your own hoops, you're back on your broom, you're back in the game. And so it's like a temporary knockout effect, and it's more effective the farther you are from your own hoops, the more it sucks to get beat. And so that's why
the defending team has an advantage, which is true in lots of sports.
Yes, absolutely. Right. It just makes it a longer trip. And it's really from those basic rules. It takes people a little practice to understand those rules. But once you really get it, and the other thing is that when someone comes in looking like they played a lot of sports, I say, okay, the tempo is like basketball. Plays offense, defense off. You get these sets, right? The physicality is close to rugby. It's actually almost like rugby, except that you can forward pass, right? But then in spirit, it's actually closest to American football. And that's part of why I think it's taken off so much in the US, because in American football, you have 5 guys on the offensive side and 4 to 6 guys on the defensive side whose job is not to run the ball, but to protect the teammates who are running the ball. Their job is not to be fast or necessarily. Their job is to be strong and push people all the way. Except the beaters, there's 2 of them in each team, and instead of using their mass, they use dodgeball not to clear a lane for their opponent. If you beat the right guy at the right time, you get a lane, your runner takes the lane. When people have played a lot of football, which is very common here in Texas, a lot of people who have played a lot of football, you walk them through that, and then the light bulb goes off. It's like, oh, I need a beater, clear a lane for me, and I'm going to take it through, right? Oklahoma drill. And often people just kind of catch that fire because, there's a saying, I think it was John Madden, I think. One of the great football luminaries said, football would be the perfect sport and team sport, but the quarterback position is too important. Quidditch is the answer to that. Quidditch is the ultimate team sport. If you have good beaters, your not great chasers still have a chance because they're getting good protection. If you have great chasers, you can score, but you've got to play around those beaters that are not doing their jobs very well. Ultimately, to be successful, every single position is vital. And different body types, different speeds, different mentalities, different attitudes all contribute to the sport. Quidditch is the ultimate team sport.
That's cool. I never heard that quote, but I like that. And I never actually made the connection between Quidditch and American football because I'm, more used to basketball. I make the rugby connection because of the tackling sometimes. I had a friend who was really into basketball. He actually has a question that we're going to answer later, who learned a little bit about Quidditch and came in and said, here's what you should do, and drew me a little thing. And I said, okay, you've got people in positions around the hoops to like try and score.
Yeah.
They can't just stand next to the hoops because they will get beat. You can't set up a defense that is static and sitting and waiting for balls to come to them. An offense. You can't set up an offense that is static and waiting for passes to come to them because the beaters will take them out, especially when you're around their hoops. Rita Mariano has a question, making comments on the YouTube video, asking, is Quidditch dangerous? I have my own take on that, but Alejo, why don't you start us off?
It is not any more dangerous than any other contact sport, but it is a contact sport, and therefore there is some bodily risk involved. The Quidditch injury rate, I don't think, is especially high, and it's certainly less. There's less tackling than in American football and rugby because a lot of times, instead of having to bring someone down with your body mass, all you have to do is hit them with a dodgeball, which is much less dangerous to their person and yours. And so I don't know the actual number, but I would have to say the injury rate must be lower than full tackling sports where tackling is the only option to take someone down. But
there has been some research. There's been some research about the, I think, most common Quidditch injuries, which were either ankle and knee or concussion.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, soccer, people tear their ACLs playing soccer all the time. That's a non-contact sport. So any sport's dangerous. That's the reality of it.
I am a little bit of an outlier in this case. I had a very serious Quidditch injury, which is why my family is coming on and asking these questions. So yeah, I actually got tackled very badly at a size mismatch and broke my pelvis. Went through several months of, using a walker, really kind of a slow recovery. I'm back now, able to, fully walk, run. I'm not playing Quidditch because it's a pandemic and we don't have any of that. But like, I think I have the physical capability to get back on a pitch. But yeah, that was a little unusual. I had played Quidditch for 7 years with no injuries. Not even like minor ones until that point.
Common. I think if anyone's like scared off immediately, like, oh no, someone broke their pelvis, like I'm sure someone's broken their pelvis playing soccer. Like
or I'm sure people have broken their pelvis in. I heard a story at the hospital about someone who like a set of bleachers collapsed on them and they broke their pelvis, similar to mine. And I was like, see, nobody is like never go near bleachers again, but.
Yeah, no, I know someone who broke his pelvis just falling in the bathtub. So.
Oh no, I'm sorry, but
no, injuries happen. People do tear their ACLs, and people do. I don't remember specifically someone rupturing their Achilles. That's a pretty rare injury, but ACLs and similar knee injuries and shoulder separations have happened, and so and
we're always revising the rule book. We have several different national or international bodies that are looking at rules and regulations and how to make the game safer. I said that there was at least one study kind of analyzing injuries. So there's always kind of like stuff being tweaked.
Yeah,
that kind of leads us to one of our questions that we had on Twitter in advance of this live stream. I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna give it some analysis. So Brandon, one of my friends, Brandon Wynn, asked, "Is Quidditch a sport?" And even though he said it, I think to tease me a little bit, it's a real question. I think a lot of people, when they hear that I play Quidditch, their first instinct is like, "Oh, is that like LARPing?"
Yeah, people think it's LARPing.
You put on a cape and pretend that you're Harry Potter, and then probably like wave your little wand. And then I show them a video, and they're like, "What? What is happening here?" So do you get that response as well, or do you see that happening?
Absolutely. People all the time think it's LARPing, and they think it's just a nerd thing, which obviously people who know me know I'm a nerd of the highest degree, and so they're often surprised that that I would play a sport and I have to remind them I have a black belt in Shotokan karate. This is not a surprise to you that I go and get slammed into things. It's normal.
Yeah, the athleticism. And I like to talk about this with some of my teammates. I've been on Ashton's podcast and talked about the barrier between jock and nerd is so much thinner than people realize.
And that's people want there to be a nice thick barrier. They want to look at the other kind of person, is look at them as an other, that they're not someone that's normal. I'm the normal, they're not the normal. But if you ever watch football, American football, it's a funny looking sport. Like you got a guy like coming up on another guy's butt and like grabbing up in there, and then like and you got everyone's waiting for what away. It's a very strange sport. Basketball looks funny, volleyball looks funny. All of a sudden, soccer is weird. Why aren't you using your arms? It's so much easier. Sports all look funny until you get used to them. Quidditch to me looks as normal as any other sport now.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a matter of getting used to it. Like at some point, somebody stuck a peach basket and was like, throw a ball into it. And everyone was like, why?
Yeah.
We have another question. And by the way, anyone who is watching besides my mom, if you have any questions or comments, you can go and drop them on our YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter or on Facebook, there's a link in the comments that takes you to the YouTube page, and then we can put your comments and questions right up on the screen. So what is LARPing? Alejo, you want to take this one? Because I'm not an expert.
LARPing stands for live action role playing. It's basically playing imagination games like Dungeons and Dragons by actually acting them out. And it has a very negative reputation. It's associated with
being real nerdy.
Yeah, it's just considered to be extremely nerdy. Which, I mean, speaking as I have not LARPed, it doesn't interest me personally, but I don't have any issue with it. I don't see it as any weirder than any of the other many strange activities that people do for validation in this world. I think it always makes sense to do something that you truly enjoy rather than something that you're doing to try and get somewhere and be perceived by other people.
Yeah. LARPing, I know people will dress up in costume, kind of invent their character, dress up in costume. Sometimes they plan out battles and they like bring foam swords. And I think that's mostly what we see in like LARPing representation in the media, is like people fighting with foam swords, and then people think it's silly, but like, people fight with electronic swords all the time.
Of course.
So I wanted to get to some of the questions we had from Twitter in advance. Why aren't you using your arms?
Oh, that's just a reference to soccer. It looks weird. Soccer looks weird. Why aren't you using arms?
Yes, and we get so many people who come and say, like you run with a broom between your legs. Isn't that hard? Isn't that difficult?
It's about a half hour to get used to, honestly. It's not that weird.
It's not that weird. And it's a special difficulty that you agree to deal with because you're playing the sport, like not using your arms in soccer.
One thing I will say though, and please don't take this the wrong way, because I love this book. I have read it. I enjoy it very much. The cover picture does not do the sport any favors, because her knees and elbows are in very close to her body, and it looks like that broom is hard to stay on.
Wait, we're gonna look on it.
Cover, yes. Her knees are very close together. Her elbows in very close to her body. Like that, I mean, maybe if someone is running and you take a picture, happens to look like that, but that doesn't like that kind of.
I feel like it was off a reference photo.
Yeah, probably if someone is running or patrolling, like running, especially walking to their right, it would look like that. But it looks like she's all squeezed up on the broom, like it's hard to stay on.
That's fair.
The reality is, if someone is actually engaged to the ball, the elbow comes out, the knees come out. The arms bend out more, and so she looks very like squeezed in. So
I can see it. There's also, there's more complaints because Melissa is of course off broom. There is a moment where she's off broom in the book, where she scores her first goal and she goes "Yay!" which is such a Quidditch moment. The first time anything fun happens and you do that, and everyone is like, "Off your broom."
You're off broom now. Yeah.
And then I love my illustrator, Ali Mac. She's on social media as Ali MacDoodle, but I did ask if we could get their hands free because they're actually holding the brooms with both hands at the very top. And it was too late, kind of like they didn't want to do that.
It's okay. No disrespect to the illustrator. It's obviously a very great picture. It's just, as someone who coaches a lot, I see elbows tucked into the body, and I'm like, no, you got to get those loose. You got to use your pecs more to drive those throws.
I gotcha. Oh, I feel like she's just doing the I have a ball, I'm walking kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely not throwing. But yeah, I wanted to say, I'm sorry, I'm trying to like read my little thing. So we had a question about the difference between real life Quidditch and Harry Potter Quidditch. You talked about kind of it's basically just on a different playing field, which I loved. That little comparison. Hockey can happen on ice or on grass.
Yep.
Quidditch can happen 20 feet in the air or on the grass. Or on the
I saw that question. There's two ways to answer. There's two kinds of differences. There's differences relating to magic. So there's no magic. And so obviously we can't actually fly. But actually, the J.K. Rowling doesn't really like sports that much. She invented Quidditch to make fun of sports.
She doesn't like a lot of things.
When you read the supplemental materials related to Quidditch, the sport is much closer to soccer and much less like the sport we play in terms of you're not allowed to score from behind the hoops. And there's restrictions on the keeper has to stay within a certain distance of the hoops and other things like that. But so there's some differences that relate just to, but those are never described in the book. That's like some supplemental material I think J.K. Rowling wrote just to make more stuff up. But I will say the biggest difference that isn't just there's magic, there's not magic, we're flying, we're not flying, is that in the books, in the movies, there are 2 bludgers. And in the Quidditch version we play, there are 3. And that at first, when I remember when I was first learning about the sport, I was like, why did you do that? But here's the thing is that's a central integral part of the sport is that if there's 2 beaters on each team, and there's a total of 4 beaters, but if you only have 3 bludgers on the field, then someone is empty-handed.
Yep.
And then so
both teams still have balls, but one team is at a disadvantage every time.
Right, and so that team that has both bludgers is said to have bludger control or bludger. Well, here in the U.S. we say bludger control. In England and Canada, they say other things. I think bludger superiority or bludger dominance sometimes people say.
Okay, I haven't heard that.
They're different, and I can't remember how they say it in Spanish right now, but they'll refer us to.
I'm gonna just stop you because while the bludger difference is huge, I feel like you're missing the snitch, which is another huge change that was made early on because the game is written for the books is written to just make Harry the savior every single time. So the snitch is worth 150 points, which is just
that's right.
Like you have to score 15 times, and that's not especially in a game that's more closer to soccer, that's not going to happen. Quidditch, the scores like real life Quidditch, the scores tend to go up, but we could not make a snitch catch worth 15 goals.
We could if we wanted to make the rest of the game not important.
And the chasers wouldn't be. They would be working their hardest, and it would not matter at all.
Right.
Just like
that was part of what J.K. Rowling didn't like sports. Is she thought that it would be fun if just anything could happen anytime. But yes, no, that's a good point. The snitch is normally worth 30. Well, there's all kinds of different versions now. We're workshopping it. So in the original sport that we've been playing, the snitch is worth 30 points, which is 3 goals worth. And so if you're
it gives you like a little range or a little buffer where you can be within close, your score is close enough that you can pull the snitch and either team can win, or one team can pull ahead to the point that even if the other team catches, they won't win.
They'll lose, yeah.
If you're a Harry Potter nerd, you will remember that happening in the World Cup in book 4. But it was much wilder. That happened much less often. In current modern Quidditch, that's a pretty common event. That's what good teams try to do.
And so that's definitely a major thing. And so actually, in Major League Quidditch right now, pulling the snitch also doesn't end the game. It has ended the game in normal IQA and USQ rules. Now they're talking about changing. I think the new USQ rules do something else different too.
They're starting to look at ways to say you catch the snitch and then you have a certain amount of time to see which team can then score.
And the reason for that, and by the way, I don't think we even mentioned the snitch. People always ask, how do you do the snitch? The snitch is a neutral athlete, not on either team. Just wearing yellow, and they're not playing for either team. And so they have a Velcroed snitch tail that the person's actually the snitch runner, technically. And so one seeker from each team tries to catch the snitch, and the snitch runner can run away, but more commonly at this point, we just get someone big who just
pushes them.
People with wrestling backgrounds sometimes come in just to snitch, and it's a lot of fun. And so
And this is actually an adaptation to deal with the lack of magic, right? Because we don't have a small flying ball. But it also became such an athletic part of the sport that I often wouldn't think of it as a rule change that was made because we don't have magic, but it really is.
Right. Yeah, that's another one of the differences. Aside from the fact that the bludgers are just inert dodgeballs and not ensorcelled iron balls of death that
And we don't hit them with bats because
Yes,
they don't stay
bats.
up. You just throw them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the snitch, one of the reasons they're trying to change the snitch rules is because games have a very variable length.
It can be like exactly 18 minutes, or they can be
in the
45, 50.
the snitch was starting on field from the very beginning and could get caught in 5 minutes, and the game only took 5 minutes. So they added what's called a seeker floor. So now the snitch is not available to be caught until 18 minutes into the game. But if the snitch is very good and the seekers aren't, or a bigger problem is if one team is way up and the beaters will protect knock out the other seeker will stand in the way and defensive seek. And so games can go on for the record I know of is 70 minutes.
Oh wow, was that the game that got rained out in the middle and they had to do?
That happened there too. There was another 70-minute game. Was the finals of bottom of the bracket. My first year playing.
Oh okay.
Yeah, that was also an hour-long game. And that was Dylan Freeman just snitching and just being bigger than everyone else in the field. Right. Shout out to Dylan Freeman. So the thing is that we're trying to make the sport have more predictable start and end times, because that's something that happens in the book.
So that we can eventually be televised and also go to the Olympics. I'm just joking.
American football is great for television because it's got all those little breaks. You can put beer commercials in and make a lot of money. Soccer notoriously is not so good for that just because it's just a one long ongoing game. But at least soccer games end at a more or less predictable time. If you have Quidditch matches that can last, 45 minutes or last only 20 minutes, that's a nightmare for broadcasting. And so, and for tournament direction in general, I've actually directed tournaments. I've actually run Thermopylae Cup here in Victoria, Texas. We have a tournament when there's not a pandemic on. And setting up, you got to look at it and say, well, let's try and do hour blocks and see if we can fit everything there. If it doesn't work, you got to go to 50 or 45 minutes, but then you have to run the risk that one game goes
long. Right.
Shout out to Alberto Coronado, who completely destroyed our schedule at the first Thermopylae Cup by lasting an hour against Houston Cosmos.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So that was hilarious.
Houston
It
Cosmos.
was funnier after it was all over. At the time it sucked. But so
it was a snitch who refused to get caught that made our game last so long. When I ended up getting my injury, is that game would not end.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But I forget
their pride sometimes. Speaking of someone who has snitch, I have my snitch pride. I don't want to just get caught because the longer you last, the more athletic you are, the cooler you are, the more people like you.
Yeah, and that's, the snitches are this neutral party, but they often talk about like they want to win, meaning not get caught.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have two more questions I forgot to mention that our last question came from Sonora, who's another writer. I have two more questions I want to kind of get to. I guess I'll start with Maria Fraser asked, what position should I play if I am not necessarily a super fast runner, but I am very enthusiastic?
Well, first of all, enthusiasm is one of the key ingredients. We get people coming. I've had lots of people come in to start Quidditch, new, fresh, trying it out for the first time. In general, I would say don't try and box yourself in too soon. Don't try and empty your cup and just try the different positions, see what you like. Some people, they take to one thing right away and all of a sudden that's all they want to do. And that's great, but that doesn't have to be the case. Especially if you're on a small team, you're going to need to play multiple positions just to support the team and be valuable. Everyone can benefit from being fast, and everyone can benefit from having good hands. If you don't have either of those, fast can be hard, but you can work on having good hands. You practice catching and throwing. In general, if I had someone come in, they're not very fast, they got a lot of gumption, a lot of enthusiasm, I would probably put them at chaser first. I think a lot of teams will just put everyone at chaser first because it's the closest to other normal sports like basketball. Work around the field, get open, get close to the hoops, catch passes, and then graduate to kind of carrying the ball yourself, looking for those passes to make or breaking tackles. But I'd say that I definitely don't get married to that idea. Like try and see try beat or see if you like it. See if there's something
I was going to say, when I started playing, there was kind of this idea that beaters were less athletic than chasers. There was a lot of people being funneled to. I know
That's
it's
the old
the
days.
game has changed. Yeah, it's 2012.
That's Texas. That's the old days.
Really, people were being funneled, especially smaller and more female players were being funneled to beater because people thought like, oh, if you can't run, then just stand and guard the hoops or whatever. That has changed so much.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think, you know, the way that beaters play is so much more running and stuff. But I would still say if you have the enthusiasm, I might say try beater because beating every single move you make on the field is a competition because you have to get the ball back.
Yeah, beaters are always on. Like any lapse in attention is a
And
problem.
with chasing, there's a lot of times that you run up with your team, you find kind of a space to be, or you find like a little pattern to run, and you're waiting for a pass, and the pass doesn't come for whatever reason, and then you run back to your hoops and you get on defense. To me, that's frustrating. Like I don't like playing chaser. I like to be a beater because every single thing that happens is, am I hitting someone or am I getting the ball back so I can hit someone?
Yeah.
So sometimes, and I don't consider myself to be like a super fast runner, but I will sprint if I know that someone else is going for that ball and I have to get there before them. So
yeah, I'm older than I look, so I can't run too much anymore. One thing I've noticed is that as a beater, you only really run out of gas if you're already losing. Like if you're a beater and you're dominating the competition, you end up running a lot less than the other beaters. Yeah. So if you've got a lot of enthusiasm and you're not going to wear down right away mentally, beater might be a valuable place to just try and constantly keep on the other team and so forth.
But the real answer is, like you said, try everything.
Yeah,
you might like thinking. Maybe that's your thing, especially since the stitches run less now. Our last question that I have written, if anyone has more questions, of course, feel free to comment them. But my last question that I have written is one that I really liked. It was asked by Saima, I'm so sorry, Twitter friend, who asked it first in a snarky way, which is, why are Quidditch players so obsessed with Quidditch? And then we used our spin team brain to say, we're going to answer it as, what is so compelling about this sport and this community? And again, this is one where I have my own answer, but Alejo, I want to hear from you first.
Well, I think there's a lot of things about it. One thing is that there's not one way to contribute. There's like in basketball, the taller and the faster you are, the better, more valuable you are. And there's kind of a hierarchy that builds out of that. But in Quidditch, you need tall people, you need short people, you need, people with all different kinds of skill sets. Being taller, being shorter can play either way. You need male and female players. If you're non-binary, all the better, right? So that's something that's not normal to others.
We didn't even mention the gender rule. Maybe we sidebar that for a second. Yeah, so this game is all gender full contact. The all gender is actually baked into the rulebook. You cannot field a team that includes 6 players or 7 when the seeker comes on of the same gender. There's a minimum.
It's a max. It's a 4-player max.
4-player maximum.
4 players of any one gender maximum. So if you are neither male nor female, then you can be on the field the whole time if you want. And right? So as long as you don't have 4 or 5, more than 4 male or female at once.
I think I put this in the book because I heard the rumor. There was a team in the UK maybe that fielded a team of, or they tried to field a team of all non-binary players, and I think they were like, "Oops, we messed up."
Yeah, exactly.
Or they were saying, their genders aren't exactly the same, so it counts.
Right.
So
gender identity is a key part of it. But the thing is that Quidditch is on top of just having more opportunities, and also because it's such a small sport and there's not too many people in it right now, and it's not overly competitive yet, although it's getting more competitive. It's still not tremendously competitive. There's no money in it, I should say.
I mean, you and I have both played it at basically the highest level there is. Like we're playing with Augie Monroe and his ilk.
Yeah, absolutely. And so because of that, like there's a lot of opportunity in the community, a lot of opportunity for growth. The other thing is that the sport is a good sport. It is, as I said, and I believe it is the ultimate team sport. That's not hyperbole. I literally have played a whole lot of different sports, and of all those sports, Quidditch is the one that benefits the most has the most teamwork required in order to be successful. I honestly think that it would not have gotten nearly as big if it was if it didn't have such depths of strategy available to it. And actually,
the sport has changed so much since when I started playing, but that wasn't mostly rule changes. That was mostly the way that people.
It's just people playing it more and learning.
Yeah, like figured out, like, you know, the Baylor defense. We named it after the team that came up with it. And then the 1.5 bludger play. I don't know who came up with that one, but like that was suddenly a thing that everyone had to learn.
Right. I have some game footage, just a short little game footage if Ariel can put it on. Just to see what Quidditch looks like. I don't know.
Oh yeah, so those of you who haven't actually seen it happen, we can watch a little bit of it play now.
14 minutes.
So I highlighted the players on offense who are wearing white jerseys. You can see the chasers, keeper, and beaters, and they don't.
Did you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I did unmute myself.
I'm so sorry.
And then the team on defense, the black team, also has 3 chasers, a keeper, and 2 beaters. And here's a very short play where you can see the beater clears a lane. Then the chaser makes a shot, but there's a block, and then the beater comes in, cleans up the play. It's just like that. This is a high-level game. This is a high-level. This is a champion. This is a semifinals game, and so like it all happens just like that. But everyone already knew what was going to happen. Just
let's watch that one more time.
Hey, yeah, just watch it again. Just see what you see.
Approaching 14 minutes.
I didn't mean to make that little blur when it froze frame it, but oh well. So you can see that the team wearing white, that's QC Boston, and they don't have bludger control. Or no, I think they do. I think they do not have. No, they don't. And so he makes a beat. Max Havlin comes in, makes a beat on the defending beater. The chasers get the quaffle up. Block. It all goes down so quickly that when you're first watching the sport, you're like, what the hell just happened? But, you know, for someone who I can play see it.
In the book several times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And that's one of the things that I really liked about the book is that it's very realistic very accurate in terms of just the chaos. Just learning the sport is just so chaotic, and there's such a steep learning curve, and there's so much going on. You know, that was one of the things I enjoyed most about the book, is that I felt that it fairly accurately portrayed that. I think you left out, which was smart. You left out the part about getting recruited to have to goal ref at her first tournament.
Oh my gosh!
Not knowing what was happening, getting yelled at for being a bad ref. So
at one point, I realized that I had left it out, and I was like, you know what? This is my book, and I do not get joy from reffing, so I'm not going to make my character ref.
I am I'm certified head referee. I hate refereeing, and I'm going to stop refereeing as soon as I have the chance to stop refereeing. But if no one referees, games don't happen, and so that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Quidditch, unlike sports that are mature, that have existed for a long time, where people played it for years and now they ref it, now they're grown-ups and they're good at it, Quidditch players have to referee games of the tournament, and that not their own games, but like other games, and like that sucks. A lot, and there's not. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who we would be depending on to referee, who have been playing, when they retire from playing, they often retire from refereeing as well, and that's a catastrophe for the Quidditch community, and we need to stop that from happening. So, the Quidditch community faces many challenges, and that's part of why I'm here, to try and recruit. Come play Quidditch; it's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, hopefully we can get some people to read the book and come out. Hopefully some people watching this who haven't known about Quidditch might get excited and try it out once the practices come back safely.
Once people stop dying from COVID, that would be nice.
That would be great. I would love that. So yeah, thank you everyone. I wanted to remind everyone that this is a lead up live stream number 2. The thing that we're leading up to, if you didn't know, is my virtual launch of my book. My book, which I can hold up again, comes out December 15th, so month and a half. And the launch party is going to be December 20th. I have a graphic somewhere, 2 p.m. maybe, Texas time. And we'll be having not just like this, but actual panels, probably like, you know, short panels, 3 of them, to talk about different aspects of Quidditch, different aspects of writing YA, different aspects of engaging with fandoms. So that should be a lot of fun. Keep an eye out for all of those announcements. We also, oh, there it is. Aha! Yes, there's our panels. History and Future of Quidditch. We're going to get Brandy, who was one of the people who was founding some of the early teams in Texas, along with Ashton, who's a sportscaster, very interested in where Quidditch is headed.
He's great.
Yeah. Sports and YA fiction, which we'll talk to someone who wrote a soccer book. We'll talk to someone who wrote a skateboarding and surfing book. And I'm trying to remember if we got Blazer games with the dragons, but I can't remember. Oh my gosh, there's a cat on your screen.
Yes, I have a cat. I actually have 3 cats.
And then one
attention the most.
And then one panel about responsible fandom. So yes, keep an eye open for that. That should be coming up soon, and we'll have a couple more lead up live streams before then. The last thing I want to remind everyone is please do pre-order This Is How We Fly. It's not out yet, but it's going to be great, I hope. We have a really nice pre-order campaign, actually. So if you pre-order the book, you send me a picture of your receipt or like a screenshot of your confirmation email. You can get one of these lovely headbands in any color. The black ones aren't here yet, but they're on their way. They were made by Sweet Melissa Gifts, who also made the Houston Cosmos ones with the sparkles last season, I think. So if you liked and or stole the Houston Cosmos headbands, you might want one of these. We also have stickers of the book, and we have now, newly, these exciting kind of nerdish bookmarks. Let's see, this one is Super Mario Peach or Daisy. Oh yeah, there we go. Woo-hoo. This one is this is Tristan Strong. Right? Yeah, Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Universe, which is a middle grade fantasy novel. One of the characters from there, and this is Camp Half-Blood. Got like a little mythical creature on it. So there's just a bunch of different nerdy fandom bookmarks. So you'll be getting one of those, some stickers, the headbands, maybe some homemade bookmarks as well. So yeah, pre-order if you can. If you pre-order through Brazos Bookstore, you can get a sign. You can request to have a signed copy. Oh, I love hearing people talk about what they love. I mean, that's what most Quidditch people, if you sit them down, like that one person was saying, if you sit us down and ask us about Quidditch, we can go on.
Right. You have to remember also, I talk for a living. I explain how cells work for a living. So switching to talking
and you
about
can make
sports.
that interesting.
Oh, if I can make that interesting, I can talk about sports all day too. So also, a shout out to someone in the comments correcting me. It's called Bludger Supremacy in England, and I think
I was going to say that, and then I was like, that's even worse. I don't think it would be that, but yeah, Bludger Supremacy.
Yeah, no, that I knew it was something like that. I haven't played in Canada or the England. I've just seen like their Facebook posts. It's like
I like Bludger Control. I don't know.
Bludger Control is that's what I'm used to. So let's just say that.
Well, thanks Alejo for being here. Thanks for all of this. Thank you everyone who's watching or who will be watching later on the recorded version.
And then last reminder, HowToPlayQuidditch.org is a website that actually does have explanation of the rules and even has some materials on how to start your own team if there isn't a team at your college or university or your community. And I also run the Facebook page, How to Play Quidditch, where I try and cross-post most of the materials.
Great resources for like if we went a little too fast with through the graphic this time, or if you have any more questions.
Yeah, and I'm also available to be messaged through the Facebook page or through the website if you have more specific questions on coaching or starting a team. I have resources that can help you start a team, and because we need more teams. There are over 100 college teams in the United States, which is great, but there are a lot more than 100 colleges. Would like that percentage to go up. So, and
also community teams are really valuable because it gets to where we don't just have to recruit from college students. We can get other people. We can even get high schoolers on the team, like Ellen.
Yes. Sadly, unfortunately, the least realistic part of the book was that there's a thriving, vibrant summer college or summer club scene in Texas. When reality,
we have Texas to see. Well, yeah, that's not.
I run Texas to See League, and it's not nearly as formalized as what happens in the book. Sadly,
yes.
But
it's actually based on an earlier time, like more 2015, when would just be one tournament. It wouldn't be like a whole.
Yeah, like the fantasy tournament back when that was
exactly
before MLQ quote unquote killed it. So yes.
Yeah. But anyway, No, yeah. I think when I was writing the book, I actually thought that I had made it like more formal, more organized than real summer Quidditch, which was mostly just playing with yourselves.
Right.
And then now I feel like there's even more formal games going on in the summer than I made it seem
Well,
like.
if you count MLQ, yeah, but no high schooler unless they're literally a D1 like
Is
recruit.
gonna jump into MLQ.
No.
That's fair. But Texas is Youth League still, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, thank you again, everyone. This was super fun. Thank you, Alejo, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I wish I knew who my next one was going to be, but I do not. You know,
You'll have to find out, viewers.
I actually think it's going to be about nerd subcultures, like writing about nerdy subcultures. So I'm trying to get the author of The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly. I'm going to get that title wrong. But it's a YA book based on a character who works as a waitress at medieval times. So that should be a fun conversation. But I don't know when it's going to happen. So, you know, keep an eye on my feed, either Facebook or Twitter. And if you just wandered here randomly, I guess check out this YouTube channel later. All right.
Yep.
Bye.
All right.
We're going to
Thank
wrap
you.
it up. Thank you, everyone. Woo.